because I think you're going to be in for a surprise when we jump into The Lord of the Rings Battle for Middle-earth 2.
Here we go. Let it sink in. Stretch.
Battle for Middle-earth 2 was developed by EA Los Angeles, a studio that you've most likely heard of one way or another. They've had a tumultuous past, to say the least. They've been making games since 1996 and have been renamed and restructured so many times.
I'll tell you this and cut the chase. Lord of the Ring, The Battle for Middle-earth 2 is easily my top 10 favorite games of all time.
Throughout the history, I've honestly lost track. And while today they are more of a support studio for mainline DICE series like Battlefield and Star Wars Battlefront, back in the mid-2000s they were a force to be reckoned with in both
It was
FPS
so different
and
about them.
RTS genres. Releasing the first Battle for Middle-earth title in 2004, its success warranted a sequel, which came to pass in February of 2006 as Battle for Middle-earth 2. Similar to its predecessor, it was a critical and commercial accomplishment, and players were once again able to enjoy Tolkien's fantastical world.
The only other game I can think of at the time was Age of Empire and WoW, which is World of Warcraft, The Frozen Throne, I believe. But this game, The Battle for Middle-earth, when the movie comes out, they made the video games after the movie, and they're usually crap and shit, 99% of them. But when it comes to the Lord of the Rings franchise, every single video game, almost all of them back then, was superior.
In an RTS setting, something that a lot of people would probably think difficult to achieve. Yet they did achieve it, and apparently they did so quite well. They even did well enough to warrant an expansion pack later that same year. The Lord of the Rings Battle for Middle-earth 2 expansion pack, The Rise of the Witch King.
Dude, when I was in middle school, back in 2009, 2010, and they had The Rise of the Witch King expansion, they just sell in the store. They don't have it. I was like, how do I get them? So I found one on eBay, but it cost $90. I begged and begged my mother all summer to get me The Rise of the Witch King, and she finally said yes for $90.
Bit of trivia, this
Well
is apparently
spent.
the longest video game expansion name ever. It's easily the longest I've ever seen. I really don't envy the designer trying to fit all those words onto the game's cover. No matter, I'm sure both of them were impressive for 2006, but we're going to have to take more of a look at them to see if you should play Lord of the Rings The Battle for Middle-earth 2 in 2019.
Get ready.
Now, just so anyone who's wondering knows, I'm playing Battle for
The
Middle-earth 2
memory, man.
using its unofficial community patch, version 1.09, which fixes many bugs and updates certain visual effects and mechanics, and it's generally accepted that this is the best way to play the base game today. As for Rise of the Witch King,
Bro should make a slideshow. Let me tell you something real quick. How did I convince my mother? She made me recite the Hail Mary Catholic prayer speech until I get it right. I had to say the Hail Mary speech over 100 times. I remember getting out of the summer camp of the building, and I got into my mother's car. I sat in the back seat, and I asked her once again, can I have the game? And she says, do the Hail Mary speech. After 100 attempts, on day 10 of summer camp, I finally got the Hail Mary speech right, and I got the game. Thank you, Jesus.
I'm doing a similar thing and using its unofficial community patch, version 2.02, which again is the recommended way to play it now. Okay, let's get into it. I've talked a few times in other videos about how much I've played Command & Conquer 3 in my day, and today we're going to be doing that again. Back in the video about Command & Conquer Generals, I spoke about how that felt quite similar to CNC 3, mainly because of the engine it was built on, as well as some gameplay factors like its upgradable units and rechargeable abilities, among some other things. And while Generals felt distinctly like a predecessor to CNC 3,
in other words, if you like Age of Empire or Lord of the Rings RTS game, but you want guns and tanks, this is it. No mobile game fucking shit, microtransaction shit. Pure 100% game right in your hand.
Battlefield Middle-earth 2 feels like it was built on exactly the same core, but made in a completely unique setting with its own little quirks to make it stand on its own. Battlefield Middle-earth 2 is at its heart a traditional RTS. You've got your base building and resource gathering, you've got your armies fighting, you've got your researching, you get the idea. But the novelty to all this is that it's Lord of the Rings, so you're playing with elves, dwarves, goblins, Sauron, etc. All the fan favourites from the books and movies. There's 3 campaigns to play, with good and evil ones in the base game, and the third one in the Rise of the Witch King expansion.
Dude, this is
There's
amazing!
a skirmish mode and a turn-based game called War of the Ring, which is similar to what you've seen in games like
Now, you see this right here? This kind of look familiar in your mobile app game nowadays, right? If you play mobile app, you gotta pay $100 to unlock the character. You gotta pay another $100 for resources. You gotta pay another $100 for a time travel, resource gathering, speed run. Holy fucking shit. They don't make games like these anymore.
Total War, if a bit more simplified here. Starting with the campaigns, you can play the base games 2 in either order, as they're independent from each other, though you'll obviously need Rise of the Witch King to play
exactly.
This one. I began with the base game's
You
good
can take your
campaign,
to college
and
fun.
right off the bat I was impressed by its production value on display. Hugo Weaving both reprises his role as Elrond from the films, and voices the narrative exposition between missions, and his credibility lends a lot to the game's story. There are others reprising their roles from the movies here too, such as Christopher Lee, Elijah Wood, and Ian McKellen, all who do an excellent job in making Battlefield Middle-earth 2 feel wholly legitimate, and not just a cash-in on the Lord of the Rings license.
I bet the cast of Rings of Power wouldn't even dare to make an effort to join video game company to voice their,
The campaign missions are also surprisingly interesting, with a unique range of scenarios that stay entertaining throughout its runtime, and its familiar characters that lend to its credibility as stories in the Lord of the Rings universe. And while the skirmish mode does lack the context that the campaign enjoys, the gameplay holds fast on its own, with 6 different factions to players in the base game, with an extra one added in the expansion. Battlefield Middle-earth 2 features all the RTS accoutrements you've come to expect from a quality title, all things you've undoubtedly heard before, like an assortment of captivating units and buildings, unique...
The more and more I watch this video, my heart breaks. My heart aches. I just want to find a time travel machine and just go back in time and just stay in this moment and play this game forever and ever.
Interesting factions, and balanced gameplay between them all. But almost all of its recognisable elements have small twists that make them feel fresh, like the fact that infantry units are built in large squads, making clashes feel like real battles between potentially hundreds of soldiers. But what it does to truly distinguish itself from other RTSs is more interesting, and it makes the gameplay far deeper than what it may seem on the surface. Firstly, there's a hero system where you can recruit familiar Lord of the Rings characters to the battlefield, who level up through combat experience and have powerful abilities that unlock as you do so. It's really reminiscent to what's in Warcraft 3, except here the abilities are predetermined. They range from simpler ones like heal allies in a certain vicinity, to the far more exhilarating summon and lift.
You know what's funny? The WoW game, World of Warcraft Online, is far superior to Lord of the Rings Online game. However, when it comes to RTS, the Lord of the Rings Battle for Middle-earth is far superior to World of Warcraft RTS. There's the paradox, there's the irony in it. World of Warcraft Online is better than Lord of the Rings Online, but the Lord of the Rings RTS is better than World of Warcraft RTS.
Literal thunderstorm that eviscerates all your enemies in its radius. And since you can have multiple heroes on the field at once, battles can become a lot more tactical, as using the right ability at the right time could swing the tide of that battle. And there's more. The game also features a point system similar to the star system that was in Command & Conquer Generals, where you can unlock special powers that can be used throughout the game. While similar to the hero abilities, they differ in the fact that you can actually choose what path you want to take and what ones you want to invest your...
You know what's funny? In this game, I believe there's some chicken walking around and you can actually kill the chicken. And if I'm not mistaken, I think there's an Easter egg. Or maybe that's from Age of Empire. So yeah, you can literally get a chicken from a farmer if you want.
Points into. They're also a lot more versatile, and some are insanely awesome. Who doesn't like summoning a gigantic underground squid monster to crush your enemies, or calling a fire-breathing dragon to set them all alight? They're all just so much fun to use, and they add a whole new level of strategy to a game that's already doing a lot to be deeper than most. There's also a laundry list of small details that add to the overall enjoyment of the gameplay, like how mounted units and trolls will charge through and annihilate foot soldiers, making unit positioning and countering extreme.
Dude, look at all of those NPC on the ground. There are so many of them in one map. Like, I remember back in the day before these games existed, I used to go to Dollar Tree or Toys R Us, and I'd get a whole bucket of Army Green Men, and I'd place them all over my house. But the thing that sucked with Army Green Men toys, I have to move each Army Man to have a little, a little role play, just play with them like pew, pew, pew. But the thing is, I couldn't move all of my Army Green Men. I have 2 hands. But when these games existed, these are my new Army Green Men. They all move at the same time. I went from toy to RTS. By GTA 5 by Hatchet.
Extremely important and really effective.
Sure, why not?
Or how when you summon a giant eagle, they actually swoop down to pick up enemies,
Give me some
only to
beatbox.
toss them away like a leaf on the wind from 50 feet in the air. That makes the whole battleground feel much more alive, and not just a bunch of 3D models swinging swords in each other's direction. Now when you're looking at the base game and the expansion, it's honestly up to you which one you want to play. While The Witch King isn't a standalone title, it does make some changes to the base game which some don't prefer. Obviously,
You know what's funny? If I want to play this game right now, let's just say it is not legal to play it. That's all I'm going to say.
if you want to play the 3rd campaign or use the 7th faction, then you'll be required to use the Witch King expansion. But if not, it's really down to what version of the game you personally like. There are communities for both, and while the general gameplay is pretty much interchangeable, there are some minute details that may affect your decision, like balance changes, new units, and more. Now I don't claim to be an expert on them, as I'd never played either of them before making this video. So if you're wondering what to do, I'd probably start with the base game and go from there to form your own opinion. But you can rest assured that whichever you choose, expansion or not, a game of
This NPC character right here, the Witch King, is the coolest looking RTS NPC. Beautiful, well detailed, drop dead, fucking badass, gorgeous. The coolest RTS you can ever play with. His armor, the horse, the red cape. Oh man, it's like having orgasm. Why is it illegal? I'll tell you later.
Battle for Middle-earth 2 is just really fun. Building and expanding your base is satisfying, and the inevitable combat between what are often large armies that follows is tactical, exciting, and surprisingly deep, especially because of the additions of hero units and unlockable powers. Battle for Middle-earth 2 tries a lot of things to make its gameplay loops more exciting, and in my opinion, it succeeds in doing so. If you've watched previous videos of mine, you'll know I love the Sage engine. Love it. Command & Conquer 3 has some of my favourite effects in any RTS, and one of the best parts about CNC Generals for me were again its effects. And you can probably tell at this point, Battle for Middle-earth 2 is built on that same engine, and I love it just as much here as I have in other games. I honestly think this game feels more similar to CNC 3 than Generals does, and as far as I'm concerned...
You know what's funny? I had a crappy laptop back in the old day, like 2008, 2007. It was like bulky, silver, thick laptop. It was like Nicki Minaj laptop. And I played this game, right? I went to the setting. It says low, medium, high. I clicked the setting on high and high dense population. My computer frame FPS was like 5 frames per second. It was so bad. But now, me looking back at it with my new computer, it runs super smooth. Just imagine the modern gaming in 20 years compared to now in present. Mind blowing.
It's positive praise. The graphics in Middle-earth 2 obviously aren't incredible nowadays, but they hold up well enough where it doesn't feel like you're playing a super old game. And they've also been boosted a bit by the way of the community patches you'll most likely be playing on. Units and building designs are both great, but it's those classic Sage engine effects that really make it all stand out. Everything from flaming arrows to crumbling buildings are a feast for the eyes, and the crazier powers and hero abilities really let the game flex its visual
Look at the
muscles.
design.
The sight of a massive dragon landing and spewing fire at your enemies never gets old, and the impressive effects just amplify the power of these abilities, and they all feel extremely impactful. And like in the gameplay, it's the small details that make all the difference, and add a lot to the game's presentation. Units go flying when they're hit by rocks or explosions, siege engines move slowly and feel very weighty, soldiers cheer when a battle is won or when a friendly hero appears. It's just things like
Get
this
me
that really
Greek
show
replied
that a
to
lot of
Lucid
effort
of the
and
night
care
I
was put
pirated
into
it.
the game's development, and it's something that I really appreciate. The game's audio is no different. It's all very high quality and things sound just like you'd expect. Swords clash with intensity, and environmental effects crunch down with devastating force. The soundtrack is also excellent, and if you've seen the films, then you'll be in for a familiar experience. But I don't say that as a bad thing, at all. The score to Lord of the Rings is dramatic, memorable, and really effective.
It is memorable.
Battle of Middle-earth 2's OST fits that bill perfectly.
Games nowadays, if I buy a game and if I play it, I either don't finish the game or I finish the game, but I don't go back and play it again. This game, I play it like once or twice every year since 2004. But I didn't play it until 2008. But dude, that is how good this game is. Yes. Surprise, surprise.
While some tracks from the film were used in a few places, most of it is from its original soundtrack. The composers did a terrific job in making a score that both feels uniquely its own while still being familiar with what people have heard before.
James Christopherson. A masterpiece.
And the last thing I want to talk about here is the voice acting. And while at times it's somewhat hit or miss, it's mostly solid. Like I said, Hugo Weaving does a great job in voicing his character from the films, as well as narrating the cutscenes in the base game's campaigns. And the other actors reprising their roles are of similar quality. While most voices for units and other hero characters are good enough, there are some that to me feel like they're overacting a bit.
The biggest thing about this game is you have two campaigns. You got the good campaign and you got the evil campaign. A lot of games nowadays are too shy and too afraid to show the dark side, the side of the enemy's story. In this game, it has the what if moment. Dude, it cannot get any better. The good guy have great heart, but the bad guy get the badass stuff. Especially the battle log.
Grace us with their presence. Such exquisite pleasure.
Overall, the game's audio-visual package matches the gameplay perfectly, in that it's of high quality and feels just like you would want an RTS set in the Lord of the Rings universe to, while also standing on its own for those who may not just be satisfied by its authenticity to the universe it's set in.
Is that it?
Man, this script has turned into one of, if not the longest ones I've ever written for a Should You Play video, which was honestly
I wonder what the surprise is.
wholly unexpected. And those two words sum up my experience with Battle of Middle-earth 2 and its expansion perfectly. Having never played either of them before, I don't think they would be paragons of the genre. I anticipated a game that would be a decent RTS that mostly got its praise just from the fact that it was a fairly okay game set in the Lord of the Rings universe. Boy was I wrong. I enjoyed every minute of my time spent in Battle of Middle-earth 2. Whether I was playing through its high quality campaigns or engaging in entertaining skirmish battles with familiar characters and heroes I knew from the films. And this is coming from someone who's not even a huge Lord of the Rings fan. I've seen the movies a few times, but I've never read the books, and I definitely consider myself a normie of the fanbase. So if you listening are a devotee of the universe, you can be sure to get even more out of it than I did. As for availability, it's unfortunately not available to buy digitally anymore.
No.
So you'll need to find other ways to get it, either via a disc or otherwise. It also needs a little bit of work to get running on a modern PC, but nowhere near as much as some older games require.
If the whole world has gone into hell, an apocalypse of rain, firestorm, and coming down from the sky, make sure you save this game on your PC and preserve it for another million years. That is how good this game is.
And if you want to give it a try, I've linked a forum in the description which explains it all in great detail and includes all the community patches as well as how to play it online. It's quite simple and will probably only take you half an hour or so to get it all up and running. Bit of Middle Earth 2 is the best fantasy RTS I've ever played, so if you're looking for something to scratch that itch, I'd recommend you give it a try, even if you're not a Lord of the Rings super fan, which I certainly am not. It's definitely one of the better RTSs I've tried out recently, and I can easily see myself playing some more with friends after I've finished this video. And while it is a shame there's no digital release, as far as remasters go, I honestly don't feel like the game needs it. There's a widescreen fix included in the community patches, and there's even HD mods you can download that increase the game's visual quality, though the one for the Witch King...
I don't see this happening anytime soon, but if we ever get a remaster for Battle of Middle-earth 2, holy shit, take my money. You want to make money? Time Warner, bro? EA? Amazon? Give what your fans wanted.
King expansion is still being worked on as of this video. So, if you like the look of it, I'd recommend you give it a try. And let me know your thoughts on playing it in 2019 down below. Do you still play it today? I'd love to hear if you do. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoy my content, then be sure to subscribe. Also, if you have any games you'd like me to look at, leave a comment and I'll see what I can do. You can also follow me on Twitter for updates on the channel, and follow me on Twitch for regular live streams. Links are in the description. Thanks again, and I'll see you all next time.